all over the country.
Well, if you look at this, look at majority black sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get drug tested.
Right.
Look at for marijuana.
Right.
Look at white sports. They don't get tested for marijuana. Baseball doesn't get tested for
That's
marijuana.
true.
Soccer doesn't get tested for marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey don't get tested for marijuana. But football and basketball do.
Right.
Paul Gause might just be the best athlete to ever come out of South Jersey. In football, he led his team to 2 Group 1 state championships as a running back and cornerback. He set multiple offensive records and led his team to an undefeated season. More impressive than all that is he is the second person in state history to score 1,000 points in basketball in one season, and only the third person to score 3,000 points over their career. He led his team to its first appearance ever in the state championship at Schalick High School. He went on to play Division I basketball at Seton Hall, where he distinguished himself as one of the best defenders in the country.
Hotel to make sure I didn't miss any games.
He then went on to a very impressive overseas basketball career. He's now focusing his efforts on training up the next generation of basketball players in the area with his NBA Never Be Average program.
All right, so this is Kingram out here, Voodoo Man series. We got Paul Gause with us. Paul Gause is probably the best athlete to ever come out of New Jersey. What we're here today is to talk about his experiences being a black athlete around the world, you know, coming up in South Jersey, and you know, just how that shaped his life and what he thinks about what we need to do going on. So let's talk about what first got you interested in sports in the first place. Like, what caused that?
I would say my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, most kids with older brothers, they follow in their older brother's footsteps.
Right.
So at the time, my older brother, you know, he was playing football, playing basketball, wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
playing different sports, and I just wanted to be like my older brother, you know, and to this day, that's still like my hero, my idol. I still look up to my older brother.
You guys grew up in a pretty rural area. Like, what was the experience like out there?
I think that benefited me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, having so much space to, you know, play football outside,
Mm-hmm.
go running around. You know, we swam in rivers. You know, we climbed trees. We did everything that you could say a country kid would do. You
Right.
know, and it was nothing else to do. The only thing I did to do was play sports and play basketball and football and
Right.
race and find things within each other to have fun with. You know,
Right.
it wasn't like you could go to a funplex or
Mm-hmm.
or even the movies or
Mhm.
anything. It wasn't nothing in walking distance. And you know, if your parents wasn't busy, they might take you out. But you know, we just gravitated towards sports, and we created our own culture with that, and our own
Nice.
competitive, you know, nature within each other.
Mhm.
All kids in the neighborhood.
Now, I mean, you look at like the voting map. Where you're from is I mean, it's, you know, it's Trump country. I mean, to put it blatantly, like, it's a lot of Trumpers out there. Did you feel that energy growing up, or did you feel included? Like, how did you feel about coming up?
I think because of basketball and sports that from an early age they kind of view you a little differently. You know what I mean? Because especially if you know your parents and you are well mannered,
Right.
well spoken, you know how to carry and conduct yourself out in public when you're around, and then they want to get to know you.
Right.
You know, and they wonder, like, you know, where are you from?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? And then once they see that you are, you know, no different than them, and
Mhm.
or it's the color of your skin,
Right.
or things of that matter, it opens up more doors. Like I
Right.
feel like before basketball, it lets people see that I'm more than just an athlete.
Mhm.
Like, I'm a person. Like, I
Right.
have feelings.
The
I have
game
thoughts,
brings people together.
right, and have opinions. You know, and maybe without this, you know, I just may be another kid in a economic depression, or
Mhm.
in a tough situation, or in the hood, as some people say.
Mhm.
But you know, basketball allowed me to see more at an
Mhm.
early age. I was able to travel to different states.
Yeah, it definitely gives you different opportunities, and it puts you in different circles of people. I mean, you meet people from all different economic backgrounds, all different shades and colors. So let's talk about, like, you know, your college experience, or No, but actually, I want to get your opinion based on what you just said. So you know how like LeBron was talking about, you know, even when you're an athlete, you still deal with racism. I know athletes do get afforded, you know, different opportunities and are viewed differently. But do you think like they ever escape that? Do you think like that allowed you to escape the racism?
To a certain extent. I mean, like, you know, I've been subjected to people saying, oh, you know, you're only this good because in essence you're black.
Right.
Like, not because I worked so hard at it and put a lot of time and effort into it. You know, like some people feel like even if they put in the same amount of effort as me or another black person, they wouldn't be as good because you know, they feel like black people are natural born athletes, which we are, but to a certain extent, you got to work and
you
and,
still
you know,
got to work.
Skill has no color.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What you lack in one thing, you pick up in another, and skill has no color. And I feel like, you know, there's white people, Chinese, Mexican, Spanish.
Yeah, anybody can learn a skill sport.
Right. You know, and basketball is a skill sport.
It
I mean,
is,
what
yeah.
you lack in athleticism, you pick up in skill.
Right.
So, you know, you don't have to
Shoot,
be.
I wasn't nowhere near as athletic as this dude. My skills was high.
I feel like basketball is a sport that all people can fit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people can't fit certain sports. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter if you're tiny, if you're skilled. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're
like,
tall,
look
if you're
at, I mean,
skilled.
like Nate Robinson's a freak athlete, but still for his size, like, you know, a lot of people kept telling him he couldn't do it.
Right, Isaiah Thomas. You know, there's a lot of Kimba Walker. There's a
yeah.
lot of small people that fit into basketball. Now the game is transitioning to where you have tall people,
Tall guys that are also skilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, and there's all type of, you know, foreigners, all type of people that are not athletic at all. Stephen Curry is not athletic.
No, he's not really athletic. No.
He's very skilled.
Super skilled.
and there you go. And he, you know, he tears that athletic barrier down. You know,
But he also works really hard.
Exactly.
He works hard to improve on the athleticism that he has and all that. So I want to talk about some of your you know, your experiences in college. I mean, you went to Seton Hall, which was in New Jersey, and let's talk about how your experience was there.
I think the biggest thing I took from college is learning politics.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Freshman year, I had a coach that recruited me to Seton Hall. Sophomore year, my coach got fired. New coach comes in. He doesn't want he doesn't want certain players to look and shine, and he gives you, you know, he puts you into a box almost.
Right.
And I didn't understand that until later on in my college career, until I got out. Like, dang, that's how politics work. You know, so once I learned the politics side of things, and then even into the professional level, it was almost a shot. You know what I mean? Like, I was always able to, you know, in sports, to pretty much showcase my full talent.
Right. They just let you. They let
do
you
what
play.
do what I wanted to do, and
But
you
there
know,
became an agenda based around.
right.
Now, how do you feel about, you know, like it always bothered me that the college sports that benefit schools the most are basketball and football, yet they don't pay them. You know, they're not allowed to give them any money. You know, like all the rules are so crazy. Like, how do you feel about the treatment of like college athletes?
Well, football, I feel like you need to go to college.
Yeah.
Being that I played football and I got to experience it, even though I was a grown man and I came from 4 years of basketball to football, I'm like, there's no way that a high school kid, I don't care what high school kid you are, can go straight from high school to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
I agree with that.
It's a total difference. But now basketball is a whole different aspect of maturity.
Even with football, though, I mean, if you look at how much money they make the schools, like the schools should pay them.
Right. I think it's
not that they should play in the NFL. I don't think you could go from high school football to the NFL. Like, I've never seen. I think Jadeveon Clowney might have been the closest to that I've ever seen. But I still think that the amount of revenue that they bring into the university, I mean, they're making money off these kids' jerseys. The coaches making millions of dollars, and these kids are putting their bodies on the line, like, you know, every night. So, like, is that really fair to them?
I mean, I'm an athlete, but you got to look at it like we are going to school for free.
Yeah.
So that's about what, $120,000, $150,000,
Well,
$60,000,
that's
$70,000 a
problem.
year.
It shouldn't be that expensive to go to school.
Right, that they pay for with, you know, books, schooling,
Right.
and trips. So you got your pros and your cons. You know what I mean? Because technically we are getting a free education,
Yeah.
but we are putting our bodies on the line. But a lot of people don't understand is that athletics pay for academic scholarships.
Right.
And a lot of things that we used to get in school it wasn't really racism, but it was like, yo, you got it so easy because you're an athlete and you go to school for free. But I'm like, yo, man, if I didn't come here and I didn't play, you wouldn't get that academic scholarship because we pay for it.
You're making the money.
You know?
Not only that, it's like you have a full-time job. Like you have a full like go out, run down your schedule. Like run down what an athlete's schedule is like in college.
Oh man, we get up like 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the gym, get up 100 shots, 100 free throws, 100 threes maybe. Go eat breakfast around like 8 to like 8:30, and then we go to class like 9. Depending if you got 1 or 2 classes, you get your 2 classes in. Usually done by like 1 o'clock. In between, you may have study hall, weight room, or individual workout. After that, you got practice at 3. Practice from like 3 till 3 to 6, 3 to 7. If you got any injuries after that, you go see the trainer, get taken care of. Then you got team study hall around like 9:30. You may be in between, run to the cafeteria, grab something to eat. If you don't get your schoolwork done, sometimes you in there from like 8:30, 9 o'clock till like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you got to get your schoolwork done, and you may not have an opportunity to even get it done, because if you don't get it done and you got to take a flight to Chicago in the morning. You know what I mean? So, and this stuff has to be turned in at like 7 a.m.
Exactly.
Because you're leaving, so you don't even get the regular time that most students get.
You have nowhere near the amount of free time.
Right.
So it's like having a full-time job on top of going to school. And they always say like you're a student athlete first, but that's not the reality of how it feels when you're there.
No. I mean, they try their best to integrate your schoolwork and certain things, but if you want to be the best you can, you're going to spend as much time in the gym as you can as possible. You know what I mean? And with weight rooms and running and traveling, it takes a toll on your body. Especially when you're like your freshman, sophomore year. I mean, I feel like junior, senior year is a little bit easier because you're not going out as much. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm chilling, I'm focused, I've been there, done that. You figured it out. And time management, that's the biggest thing, like.
Now, that's an important thing to learn. If you were talking to, I'll just say that question for later. Let's go into like why you decided to pursue basketball over football.
Oh, it was simple. I mean, football I really didn't like it when I first played. Like, I didn't play when I was in the midgets. And my first year of football was in 8th grade. That was my first year I ever played football. And then I only decided to play in high school because all my friends were playing football. Okay. So when I go home, the neighborhood's empty because, everybody's playing football. Right. So I'm like, I'm a sign up for football, you know what I mean? And I had a great coach. My basketball coach was my positions coach. So that helped the transition. And even my head coach was an assistant basketball coach at the time. Okay. So it was an easy transition, and it was fun once I played it. But it was never something that I was like, oh, I want to go to the NFL. And the reason I really chose basketball over football was because I felt like I could have played that at a higher level, longer. You know what I mean? Like, basketball was my always. You know what I mean? And I could not see myself not going to play college basketball. And then once I got the opportunity to get interest from schools that I was wanting to go to, then that just made the decision easier.
Now, when you look at like what the NFL is doing and how they're treating their players now, what are your thoughts on the whole Kaepernick kneeling and just how the NFL looks at athletes, how they don't they don't even let them get endorsements. They don't what are your thoughts on that?
I just think they're scared, man. They're just scared of the outcome. The uncertainty around what could happen. That possibility factor is probably the biggest thing. Like, if you could tell them exactly what would happen, then they would be more comfortable with possibly pursuing those type of things. But the uncertainty and the uprise of what hasn't never been is scary for people with money. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they got millions and billions of dollars invested into certain things, And that uncertainty or that chance, even if it's a 5% chance, is too much for them to take.
Right.
And if they can control it, they will. And it sucks for Colin because he really is like a starting quarterback in the NFL, and his numbers and everything he's done proving that. But like you say, somebody got to take a stand at some point, and the thing about it is who's going to back him.
Right.
If he gets no backing, it's not for nothing.
That's
but
the thing that's crazy to me is that like none of the owners have taken that chance. Like that to me is so, because it's a quarterback-driven league. There's a lot of teams that could use a quarterback, and they won't even risk, like you said, they won't even risk like their core base, being upset with them. Because to me, we live in like a fast news cycle. Like, yeah, they'd be mad for a couple weeks, but if you did it now, by the time the season rolled around, they would forget.
But I think half of the thing is the reaction from fans. From fans and other GMs, because I feel like they're like a frat almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's part of
like a secret society.
Right. That to me is part of the problem. I think that's the bigger issue with the NFL is like it is like a secret society. You don't have any black ownership in the NFL. You don't have really that many black GMs in the NFL. Like there's a lot of lack of representation for people of color. And I think that's where it shows when in situations like that. But also on the flip side, the NFLPA, like the Players Association, has no power. Like they can't get anything done. They can't get them better contracts. They can't get them more guaranteed money. Like their contracts are in comparison to the NBA.
To anything, nothing's guaranteed in football because the rate of injury is so high.
Right.
You could break your leg in practice and be done for the season, or tear your ACL, Achilles, and be done for the season.
And that's my point with what I was saying with college football is like, because it's if you're a potential star, right? If you can go to the NFL, like, are you gonna risk that? Like, and in the NFL, like, if your contract, like they keep talking about, guys not showing up to OTAs, and like you need to protect your body as much as you can because that's your livelihood. That's your livelihood.
And longevity is key. That's why LeBron's considered so great because of his longevity.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Playing at that level,
so
but he spends $1
long.
million a year on his body.
Right. And it shows.
So with that being said, it's tough. It's tough to juggle because if you're a kid on the fringes of stardom,
right,
and you want to be at OTAs, you want to show the coaches that you're dedicated. But if you're a Tom Brady or Adrian Peterson or a veteran of the league and you've proven yourself, OTAs is a formality. It's more for you to get on page with the younger guys. But nowadays they spend so much time in the summertime working out with the receivers and running backs and certain things that OTAs are really just.
I just think it's interesting how they frame it. Like when Tom Brady and Gronk does it, it's like they're veterans. But like when Odell does it, right? It's like he's being a diva, or he's being a hot shot, or one of those,
because they feel like Odell hasn't had the rite of passage yet.
I mean, it could be true.
And with black athletes, the off the field stuff. But if it doesn't affect your on the field productivity,
right? Like what's my guy's name? The receiver from Cleveland, Josh. What is his name?
Gordon.
Josh Gordon, yeah. Josh Gordon is one of the most talented receivers in the league, but he hasn't been able to play because of weed, which is being legalized all over the country.
Well, if you look at majority black sports, right? They get drug tested.
Right.
Look at for marijuana.
Right.
Look at white sports; they don't get tested for marijuana. Baseball doesn't get tested for marijuana.
True.
Soccer doesn't get tested for marijuana. Hockey don't get tested for marijuana. But football and basketball do.
Right.
And I'm sure that a lot of them smoke.
Yeah, probably most of them.
You know what I mean?
Definitely
But
baseball.
But they don't get tested for marijuana.
Right.
And why is that though?
And that's one of the things, that's why we're talking to you.
And I just feel like, certain sports are more protected than others because of, the ethnicity rate is higher in football and basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let's talk about your experience overseas, being a black athlete. Talk about the ups and the downs, like being the good times and like some of the issues you've had due to being a black man in a foreign country.
I mean, a lot. It depends where you go. Like,
first of all, how many places have you been?
Germany, Slovakia, Morocco, England, Dubai. Holland,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one more.
And that's all off the passport of the hoop.
That's right.
all off the skill.
None of them tickets I had to pay for it. You know? But you'll be surprised. Like some places like Morocco, for instance, is a Arabic country.
Mm-hmm.
And people view Muslims as erratic,
Mhm.
you know, bombers.
Right.
They get a bad rap.
Right.
But that's one of my favorite places because the people are just the nicest. They don't
Mhm.
even speak English. They're just so welcoming and
Mhm.
open to you. Like I would go there tomorrow and play.
Mhm.
Like I would go there on vacation. I plan on
Right.
going on vacation, and people need to go visit places like that more. But to where you go to Germany, and it depends what part of Germany you're in.
Right.
You know, like the younger community is more open and friendly, but the older community they don't really want you to come in and eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they try to they see that you're coming in and they try to just overprice you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're like there's no way this cheeseburger costs, 29 pounds, or 29 euros. You know what I
Right.
mean? You kidding me? Like, no. And they're like, well, don't eat here. You know, and of course I'm like, no, I'm gonna pay that. I
Right.
got it. It's okay. I'm
Right.
gonna eat here because you don't want me to eat here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I'm not gonna give you what you want just because you raised the price.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I keep coming there and I pay that 29 and I pay that 29, then you see them like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then they speak to you and I'm polite
Mm-hmm.
and I say hello, I say
Mhm.
goodbye, and you see me trying to learn your language,
Mhm.
trying to speak German. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then you see them open up to you more, and that's just they never been subjected to
But
it.
they were closed at first.
They were
There was
closed
a
at first,
barrier.
but there's ways to break down barriers,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to always be ignorance.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like we get a bad stereotype because of the way we act.
Mhm.
But certain things.
Now, do you think that's more being black or being American? Because I know like overseas people view Americans as being, brash and ignorant and just.
I feel like overseas they don't even give you that option to some places.
Mhm.
Some places are more Americanized,
Mhm.
so they are more open. But some
Right.
some places are totally shut off, and the majority of the black people that come into their country are basketball players.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're a little bit more turned off
Because you're not
of
in
it.
the tourist sections like when you're playing.
Right,
You're like really deep in the,
Yeah.
in the heart of
Yeah,
the country.
yeah.
So it's not just like. For Americans, I guess it's like you're not in New York City. You might be in Kansas. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right, yeah.
so
You somewhere deep in a little tiny town tucked
Right.
off on the side.
where they
and-
never saw black people.
Unless you're a basketball player.
Right.
And they usually know what time of the year basketball players are
Right.
coming in, you know what I mean? And but you'll just see how close they are. And then some of my teammates I have, they're from different areas to where racism may be a little bit stronger than what I've had.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they don't even want to go in. Like, I ain't going in there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I ain't dealing with them, man. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, man, it's okay, man. Like, you just, and they're like, yo, I had bad experiences in places like this. I
Right.
can sense it.
Right.
And I'm like, Mississippi, Louisiana,
Mhm.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
Them people that I have met that have come from racist places like that, or
Mhm.
a little bit more racist than Jersey or the parts of Jersey
Right.
that I'm in, they don't want anything to do with it. So I think it's all about, where you come from and what you've been subjected to and what you've seen. But I feel like this right here, for me, has been a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't have got the platform that I got without this. Being that I was able to, even in high school, get I was in the paper all the time.
Yeah.
Certain
All the time,
interviews.
bro. I was hot. I was like, yo, Paul, get the heck off the paper, bro.
Hey,
Leave some space for me.
I made a good business choice. I was a big fish in a small pond. You know what I'm saying?
That's true, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you think about my area, you really have to get out. And even all that I did down there, I really got all my recruiting and looks from AAU.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, the interesting thing, coming up, like, we would hear and we would think like, oh, he's just getting that because he's not playing nobody.
Right.
But no, he could really play. At any level, he's still been killing. I don't know if you'd have scored that many points because you'd have had people to pass to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had like two or three people to pass to. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But
Because if he was playing with me, I'm shooting sometimes.
yeah. But we could both
No,
be 30.
really, if we played on the same team, we'd have probably won a couple state championships.
Yeah. I know down there we would have won every one.
Every group, every group won, Joe.
It would have been a no contest. You know what I mean? I had guys on my team that averaged like 17, 18.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but you was averaging what, 40?
30 something. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I just usually when we played against the good teams or the better teams or the bigger schools, that's when I had the majority of my 50, 40s.
Right.
When we were playing against the teams that were like below us, Group 1, I would have like 17, 18. You know what I mean? Because, you know, of course, everybody can score.
Everybody can
you know
eat,
what I mean?
yeah.
You lower the level of the competition, and, you know, everybody eats B.
So I want, if you were talking to you know, some up and coming athletes that are you know, thinking about either playing overseas or going to school, what's some advice that you would give a young black athlete? Like, what would you tell him?
Urgency. You know, the biggest thing is having that sense of urgency, knowing that there's a million people trying to get your spot. You know, a lot of kids feel like, you know, it's just going to come to them. Like, the biggest thing for me when I first meet a kid is when they ask me, like Paul, how did you get good? And I'm like, you want to know how? I worked hard. Now, what I did to get good is the question you should be asking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to know what I did and not how I got good, but what I did to get good.
Yeah, what you
Because
did.
it's a clear difference. You know what I mean? And a lot of kids
Well,
think,
you know, speaking along those lines, I think what a lot of kids are missing is the why. They don't know why they need to work that hard. They don't, like you're talking about, like the sense of urgency. They don't understand that there's somebody in California or somebody in Maryland right now that's putting in work, getting busy. While
Right.
you playing 2K.
that's the thing. And you know what? And you know what's tough? Being in our area, a lot of kids don't get out. You know, and even not even sports, just in our society, when you're in a you know, a lower class area, it's hard to get to a New York. Like I know kids that from my area, like Millville and Vineland, that never been to Philadelphia.
Right.
That never been to New York. Like just never been in general. And they're like my age. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as kids, I was able to get out. Like when I remember like my first big Nike AAU tournament. I think I played against like it was a couple kids like going to like Cincinnati, Marquette, and I'm like a sophomore, you know, and I'm like, whoa, like it was like I was shocked, like, whoa, these dudes is nice, like I gotta really
Right.
keep working because down in my area I'm the man,
Right.
You know, I know I'm the man, like I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And when you get out of that area and you start traveling and seeing other players, it humbles you, and it gives you a drive to be like, okay, I know at least 15 dudes that are real tough,
Right.
from like a couple different states. And then when I was able to go to like Nike All-American camp, Lou Will was on my team, Josh McRoberts.
And you played with J.R. Smith and Andrew Bynum. And
Yeah, you know, J.R. Smith, Andrew Bynum, Brian Zubek, Jeff Robinson. There's a lot of dudes, Anthony Farmer, Jerron Griffin. We had like, on my AAU team, we probably had like 12 high Division I players, you know, from freshmen to seniors, you know. And I was able to play with like a couple kids when I was in 7th grade. I played up with like, you know, like Rob Kurz,
Okay.
Sean Singletary. You know, there was a Russell Carter.
Yeah.
You know, there was and you
Russ
know,
still nice.
right. And there was you know, they were examples, you know, and they're like, yo, he's going to Notre Dame,
Right.
he's going to Virginia, and I'm a 7th grader, but you know, playing against them dudes really, you know, helped me keep that fire burning.
So what are you doing now to help give back to the next generation of young athletes?
Sometimes I try to, you know, go when I can go speak to schools. In the inner city where I'm from, you know, I definitely try to, you know, pop out to the courts.
And aren't you doing training sessions?
Yes, I also do training sessions, you know, with kids that are, you know, that just want to get better at basketball. It's not necessarily you wanting to be like a college basketball player, you know. Some kids just like the sport,
Right.
You know, and they want to be better. And if you want to get better and you have that drive, I love to work with kids like that. I don't like the super talented kids that are lazy, you know, and just think that it's going to come. Like you said, it just doesn't come to you. At a certain level, you gotta. There's one or two things that separate you from a Division I athlete, and you know, sometimes not even being one at all.
Now, what do you think and this is probably like the most important question, what do you think the power of sports is in a time like this? I mean, we're living in times like it's very polarized. You know, everyone's, they can't agree on anything politically or even morality-wise. We're pretty much divided, but people seem to still come together and unite over sports. Like when the Eagles won, everybody was out there supporting. What do you think about what it is about the power of sports that can unite people?
I think it's just the game. You know what I mean? Like half of the time, like for football, half of the people, if you didn't see them without their helmet on, you wouldn't even know what they look like.
Right.
All you know is the number and the color of a jersey. You know what I mean? So with that being said, is white, black, Spanish, Latino, whatever you want. You know, a lot of people just see that jersey and that helmet, and, you know, it has history. You know, the history of sports go way back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And generations of families that, you know, I cannot know you, but we could be a Cowboys fan.
Right.
You know, you could be white and I see you with a Cowboys jersey on, and we feel like we got some type of bond because the star. You know what I mean? Like, and then I can name a couple white players, you name a couple black players, and now we have a whole conversation started. And if you look at basketball athletes, there is no icons like basketball players.
Right. That's
you know,
true.
like the most trend-setting people are probably basketball players.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's nobody like LeBron.
Nope.
And there's multiple icons in basketball, and they're trendsetters. Like James Harden, the beard. You know, people wearing the beard. Steph Curry, you know, his shot. Everybody wants to shoot like Steph Curry. LeBron is LeBron. You know, you got KD. You know, there's you can go down the line of just different type of
Russ
people.
with whatever he's wearing.
Right. And even if you want to go with like Dirk Nowitzki, you know, like, you know, he changed the game.
Yeah, he actually opened up the second gate of floodgates for European players.
Right. And you know, to be at his size and his height, and he wasn't black, he was you know, German.
Well, the thing and I think that's the key thing with sports. Like, sports is an equalized field for the most part. I mean, there's so many other things that, like in jobs, like if you're black, you might not get it. Like you always wonder, did I not get that job because I was black, or was it something else on my resume that they didn't like? You always have that question. With sports, you can always tell. You get on the court, either you can play or you can't, no matter what your skin color is. Like John Stockton could hoop. There's just no doubt about it. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your race is. You have to play.
And I feel like the same thing with football.
You
know,
football
like
too.
Those two sports, and even and
that's any sport. Like even in boxing, like if you can box, when you get in the ring, all that other stuff makes no sense.
But you know, in football and basketball, there is no weight class.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know, it's look at Iverson.
Yeah, AI.
You know what I mean? Like it's that ticker that you got, and it could be 5'10" versus 7'4". You know what I mean? And you know, in certain sports, there's weight classes. Football and basketball, man.
Whoever's out there,
it's
you got it. You got it.
That's right. And I think like LeBron, like everybody, like you may not like LeBron as a player, but you're gonna like him as a person. There's no way you cannot like LeBron as a person.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can hate his game, but as a person, he has like a split personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whites and everybody, blacks, you cannot like LeBron as a person. Like I don't know how you can't like somebody who builds a
apparently
school.
There's some people that don't. Apparently there's some, and that's the issue, man. Like, and the problem I have is I don't know if any amount of stardom will transcend race. I think the closest we ever seen to that was Michael Jackson, who actually changed his race.
Right. Right.
It seemed like he tried to change his race, but I don't think anybody else has ever like come close to. Because I mean, there's a lot of LeBron speaks to a whole different audience, but there's still a small sector of people that will never accept him.
Right, because he don't like Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who love Trump, and you know he talks bad about Trump.
Right.
And then that's a reason. But if you look outside of that and what he does for his community,
right,
upon race alone, like for everybody, you know what I'm saying? That's what it should be about.
That's what it should be.
You know what I mean? Everybody has their own political views. That's a given. Everybody can have their own political blues. I'm sure black people don't like Obama.
There's some. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's definitely some.
If that's your view, I'm not gonna say I don't like you.
Right.
You're welcome to your own opinion. But now, what you do for the community and our future generations, it should be important.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people miss that concept because they're so stuck in their ways and how things used to be, and they perceive how things should be. You know, things are gonna go as we take them. You know, and if you want to go down salt water and fresh water, then eventually it's gonna mix somewhere.
Right.
And then what's gonna be the outcome? You know what I mean? And that's what happened. And it's mixing. The salt water and the fresh water is mixing. And people are suffocating and they can't breathe.
So, what was your spiritual upbringing? Like, were you brought up in the church?
Yeah, my dad had me in church every Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, I was fortunate enough to not live too far, so I would walk to church. You know, and I would be in church, and you know, it wasn't necessarily of making me like, you know, sit at home and read the Bible, but you know, I had to be, you know, cognizant of what it was about and how it all started and where it came from, and you know, where our roots and our family views was on it. You know, and that's where they left it. It wasn't anything crazy.
So where do you stand on religion now?
Now it's my brother is a Muslim now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you know, like I told you before, that like that's who I look up to. That's my hero, and I'm cool with it. You know, to be honest, I think that helped him become the person that he is today. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where he would be if he wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, some people need different a set of rules and things to get them on the right track. And you know, and Muslims don't, you know, follow the same rules as Christians, and you know, Jews don't follow the same rules. And you know, it's all different. But I'm open to it. I've read the Quran, I've read the Bible. You know, so. Right now,
but that's good though, because a lot of people aren't open-minded about religion. I mean, I don't know if you know, like the whole genesis of this whole project was me looking at the origins of, you know, the suffering of Black people, and I brought it back to one of the core things is our faith, and why we like Christianity. You know, often preaches that you turn the other cheek no matter what, and that, you know, life will be. Your everlasting life is better than life on earth, which I think is a very convenient thing to tell a slave.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
but with you know, like in Haiti, when they started believing in practicing voodoo again, which is where the name comes from, that's when the slave revolts happened. They switched their belief system to, you know, the West African religion of voodoo.
Right.
Which, you know, and now it has a, you know, a negative connotation. So I was just wondering, you know, where you stood on that, and I think it's really interesting that your brother became Muslim and you're okay with that. You read the Quran, and you know, you haven't, because I think people are afraid to learn about other religions. Like, it's gonna instantly convert them.
Right.
Like, if you learn about it, it's like, oh, now I got to do that. Like, that's not true. You should learn more about every religion.
I think it's a lot of ignorance, and people don't like conflict.
Right.
Like, if I believe something, I don't want anything that's going to conflict my thought on that and make me think differently of what my whole family and everybody represents and what I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? And that uncomfortability of stepping out on your own.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because at first, you know, my mother didn't want my brother to be Muslim. You know, she I wouldn't say she was against it, but she was like, "What do you want to be Muslim for? Like, we're Baptists, and you know, this is what we've been forever." But now she's fine with it. You know what I mean? And he was at the point where, you know, he was trying to push it off on others. Like, yo, you got to look at this. He was making me CDs. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, bro, listen. If I get there, I get there. But you can't make me go there. Like, don't do that because you went there. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if I decide to go that way, then that's the way I'll go. I don't mind learning some new things, but don't try to force it off on me.
Right. And I think that's the other thing. Like, religion does become forceful sometimes. But I do think that we need to open our mind and explore other religions, and not just the religions that were handed down to us as, you know, as thinking adults. I mean, you don't do that with anything else.
Right.
You don't just believe it just because people told you that. So I think that's it's interesting.
Right. I mean, I went to Seton Hall, so it's a Catholic
school. Yeah.
I mean, I was a Catholic.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
it's a whole different experience.
It's a whole different experience, but I feel like
even though it's within Christianity, Catholicism is completely
different. But they didn't push it off on us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, yo, you going to this Catholic school, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this.
Right.
You know, there were certain things that you did out of respect
right.
for going to the school and, you know, them accepting you
right.
to come
it's
in.
Definitely a different culture.
You know what I mean? But that was just another experience that I took and I learned from. So I just feel like how people grasp it and how people perceive certain things without knowing fully about it is really important for them to grow. Even if you don't, there's a lot of things in life that we don't use that we still know about.
Right.
You know what I mean? And religion is just another one. Like, nobody says you have to practice this or believe it, but it doesn't hurt you to know about it.
Right.
And if you don't even know fully about it, just know some things about it.
Right. Learn about the general idea of it.
And then you want that person that, that's Muslim and a prayer goes off and they get down in the middle of the street and pray.
Right. You're not going to be scared.
You don't think like, oh, he's crazy, he's about to blow something up. No, that's a part of his religion. Like, he's paying respects to his religion.
Right.
So, there's certain things that other people are not aware of or they don't know about that may seem crazy. You know what I mean? And in all actuality, in their religion, it's not.
Right. Nobody comes into quicker wealth than black athletes. Not rappers, not directors, nobody. Nobody gets richer. One day you don't have no money, you sign a contract, now you got all this money. So what would you tell to especially young athletes on how to protect their money?
Well, for me and people that I know, like, a lot of us don't come from money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when we get it, we want to enjoy it. But what we got to understand and what people got to understand is you don't have to enjoy it right away.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to have time to enjoy your money and to invest, and try to put your money in places where it's going to last. Like, even for myself, I mean, I look back like, yo, I done wasted so much money. You know what I mean? Like, just doing certain things and going certain places that I really didn't need to go, but hey, I got the money right now, so I'm gonna go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and you wanna go? You wanna go? You wanna go? You wanna go? All right, and don't try to be a show off.
Right.
Be humble and appreciate what you work for, because at the end of the day, a lot of us, our plan is to do whatever we do, school, sports, whatever, is to get money. And once we get it, we feel like we got to show off how hard we work for it by getting things that are materialistic or things that won't last, or things that don't present revenue. And so the best thing you do is take a finance class and learn how to finance your money. Like, if you're gonna go to school and you plan on being making money, take a class and learn how to budget your money.
That's a really good lesson for young athletes. If you're, especially you one and dones, like, put that on your schedule. Put a finance class on your schedule. If you a one and done athlete. I think it's really important for the black community overall to begin to learn about wealth, learn about generational wealth. Personal finance is important, but the concept of generational wealth hasn't really benefited us yet. I think this is really one of the first times that we're going to actually begin to see it happen on a larger scale.
Because I feel like athletes now have people that...
Well, they can look at people that did it.
Right, that's what I mean. Back in the day, a lot of athletes, got gambling problems.
Nobody was telling them.
Drinking problems, like, they got a lot of issues that they were dealing with, racism, you know what I mean? Like, look at Mike Tyson.
Right.
Yeah, all the money that he went through. You know what I mean?
Ridiculous.
There's players, even NBA basketball players, that went through tons of money, man.
A whole lot of them.
Like,
a whole lot of them.
But what a lot of them don't understand is that lifestyle you live has to be paid for. Those houses, those cars, everything has to be paid for. So once you're done playing, you still have to pay for that stuff that you have.
Right.
You got 8 houses. Yeah, if you're 25 and you got 8 houses, and you're on this amount of money contract, but when you're 42 and you have those same houses that have to be paid for, where are you going to get the revenue from? You don't have any restaurants, you don't have any businesses, you don't have anything that's going to create revenue for you to continue to pay for these things. And a lot of people, they don't have like trust funds.
And I think that's really the key. Is like, once you get all that money, you have to use it to create more revenue instead of, because money can make money. And I think that's what I'm talking about when I talk about generational wealth. Like, if you get that initial money, that's seed money to then put into the ground and make more money for later, and to help your community and help your community make money. Find some, young entrepreneur that has a great idea and the right work ethic, and help them fund their project so that they can make money and you make money. I mean, that's what we need to start doing in our community.
And I feel like we have more examples.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing, examples.
Like, again, like you're talking about, LeBron does that. LeBron's an excellent example of that. Nas is a good example of that. I mean, like, there's a lot
Jay-Z,
of Jay-Z.
We gotta like, Jay-Z's an agent.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, a rapper turned agent. Like,
Right.
there's no bounds to what we can accomplish with examples like that. You know what I mean? Showing you that there is hope, there is a way to do it, and if they're willing and smart enough to go reach out to the younger youth in the community and give seminars and stuff like that on how to,
Speaking of it, like,
generational wealth.
Colin Kaepernick, even though he's not in the league, he's been doing a whole lot of seminars about, finance, about protecting yourself, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, he's another great example of how you can impact your community as an athlete who, has some good money.
Right, like, look at AI. Everybody think AI broke. He's not broke.
Yeah, he's not broke.
He's not broke. He has money that he can't touch until he turns a certain age.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of athletes really should look into doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you can't trust yourself. Yeah.
Right. If you
can't trust yourself.
You got somebody around you that know, like, yo, you a little frugal with your money, man.
Right.
Like, and to go out their way and set something up like that that was clutch for him.
Yeah. That was important.
And he still has like a lifetime sponsorship and
Yep.
endorsements that people don't even really realize and know about. So
I think that's it. Is that it? I've always hated double rims.
I can't stand. When I used to come to the park, I'm like, I ain't playing here.
Yeah, you can't even shoot.
I hate double rims. I can't.
Crap, you trying to get the rebound? Are you serious?